My son called me. "Mom, we moved to another state last week. We forgot to tell you." I froze for 5 seconds. I replied, "It is okay, son. Good luck." I hung up. I opened my laptop and sent an email to my lawyer with a very special attachment. 5 seconds. That was all I needed to understand that my life had just split in two. Ryan's voice sounded distant, almost mechanical, as if he were reading a script someone else had written for him. It was Tuesday afternoon. I was preparing the pot roast that my grandson Matthew loved so much when the phone vibrated on the kitchen table. I saw his name on the screen, and my heart skipped a beat. I had not heard from him in 3 weeks. "Mom, I am calling you quickly because I am on my way out." He started without even asking how I was. "We moved to Austin last week. Vanessa got an incredible job there, and, well, we forgot to tell you. You know how these things are. Everything was very fast. We forgot to tell you, as if I were the neighbor. As if I were the lady selling cookies on the corner. As if I were not the woman who gave birth to him, who stayed up all night caring for him when he had pneumonia at 7 years old, who sold his grandmother's jewelry to pay for his college tuition." "It is okay, son," I replied. My voice came out calmer than I expected. "Good luck in this new chapter." I hung up before he could notice the shaking in my hands. The silence that remained in my kitchen was so heavy I could feel it crushing my chest. I looked at the pot roast, steaming on the stove, the fresh dinner rolls covered with an embroidered cloth, the toys Matthew played with that I still kept in a basket by the dining room. All that I had prepared with so much love suddenly felt like a mockery. But I did not cry, not at that moment. I walked to my room with steps that seemed to weigh tons. I opened my nightstand drawer and took out my laptop. The one Ryan had given me 2 years ago, saying, "So you stay connected, Mom. You are not that young anymore." How ironic. I sat on the edge of the bed, the same bed I shared with George for 32 years before cancer took him from me. I opened my email with trembling but determined fingers. I typed the address of Mr. Morris, my lawyer of a lifetime. He had handled George's will. He had been present when I inherited the land in Greenwood, that piece of land that is now worth more than $500,000. The same land where just 8 months ago I agreed to let Ryan and Vanessa build our family home. Our home. What a joke. I drafted the message short, direct, without drama. "Mr. Morris, I need us to start the process we discussed last week. I am attaching all the documentation. It is time to act." And there was the best part. The attachment, that file I had been preparing in secret for months while they thought I was just a foolish and sentimental old lady. Photographs, screenshots, audio recordings, copies of the documents I signed without reading. Well, according to Vanessa bank statements, everything. Every humiliation documented, every lie, every penny they took from me. I pressed send and closed the laptop with a dry click that resonated in my empty room. Because here is the truth no one tells you when you are a mother. There is a moment when love meets dignity at a crossroads, and you have to choose. For years I chose love. I swallowed humiliations. I closed my eyes to disrespect. I justified the unjustifiable. It is just that Vanessa comes from a difficult family, I told myself. It is just that Ryan is stressed with work. It is just that being a daughter-in-law is not easy. Lies I told myself to avoid facing the most painful truth. My son had become a stranger, and I had allowed them to turn me into a burden in my own life. But that call that we forgot to tell you, pronounced with such indifference, was the final straw. Or rather, it was the hammer that shattered the glass into 1,000 irreparable pieces. I got up from the bed, went back to the kitchen, and turned off the stove. The roast could wait. Or maybe no one would ever eat it. It did not matter anymore. What mattered was that for the first time in 4 years since Vanessa entered our lives like a silent hurricane, I had made a decision, and this time no one but me would have control. I looked out the window toward the street. The kids were playing soccer. Mr. Albert was watering his plants. Linda was sweeping her sidewalk like every afternoon. Life went on its normal course for everyone else, but for me, everything had just changed. I grabbed my phone again and looked at the last photo I had of Ryan with me. He was 6 years old. We were at the city park. He was hugging my neck and smiling with those crooked teeth that touched my heart so much. "I love you," Mom said the message he had written that afternoon so many years ago. That boy did not exist anymore. And the woman who accepted anything just to not lose him did not exist either, because sometimes true love is not enduring. Sometimes it is letting go. And sometimes letting go means fighting for what is yours before they take everything from you, including your dignity. I put the phone in my pocket and took a deep breath. In 72 hours, my son would receive a legal notification that would change everything. And when that happened, he would finally understand that forgetting to tell your mother you moved has consequences. Because I had not forgotten anything. Absolutely nothing. If this story is touching your heart or reminds you of someone close, do not leave. Subscribe to the channel to keep accompanying me in this story. Because what is coming, believe me, you cannot miss it. 4 years ago, when Ryan called to tell me he wanted to introduce me to someone special, I felt that emotion only a mother can understand. My son, my only son, had finally found someone who made him happy after so much time focused only on his job as an engineer. It was a Sunday in October. I had prepared my special lasagna, Ryan's favorite dish since he was a child. I set the table with the linen tablecloth George gave me on our 15th anniversary. I took out the good china. I even bought fresh flowers for the centerpiece. I wanted everything to be perfect. When the doorbell rang, I dried my hands on my apron and opened the door with a huge smile. Vanessa was almost 5'7". She wore very high heels that made her look even more imposing, and she was wearing a wine-colored suit that screamed money. Her brown hair fell perfectly over her shoulders. Her makeup was flawless. She was beautiful, I could not deny that. But there was something in her eyes, something I could not decipher at that moment. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Stella," she told me, extending her hand instead of giving me a hug. Her grip was firm, almost aggressive. "Ryan has told me so much about you." Ryan was glowing. I had never seen him like that, with that light in his eyes, that smile that did not fade. He was truly in love, and I wanted him to be happy. So I ignored that little voice inside me saying something did not fit. During the meal, Vanessa talked nonstop about her job at a consulting firm, about her trips to Dallas and Chicago, about her ambitious plans. Ryan barely got a word in. He just looked at her, dazed, while she dominated every second of the conversation. "What a cozy house," Vanessa said, looking around my dining room. The way she pronounced cozy made me feel as if she had said small or outdated. Ryan told me, "You have been here almost 30 years. 32, I corrected, trying to keep a kind tone. "I grew up here. My son grew up here. This house has history." Of course. History is important," she replied with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Although sometimes you have to know when it is time to move on, right? That was the first sign." But I let it pass. The following months were a whirlwind. Ryan visited me less and less. Before he spent Sundays with me, he helped me with house repairs. We talked for hours drinking coffee. Now everything was excuses. Vanessa wants us to go to that new restaurant. We have plans with friends. Her family invited us to the Hamptons. Her family, as if his, did not exist. In February, 6 months after meeting her, Ryan called me excited. "Mom, I proposed to Vanessa, and she said yes. We are getting married in August. 6 months of dating. 6 months to decide to spend the rest of your life with someone. Do you not think it is very fast, son?" I dared to ask. "You are barely getting to know her." "Mom, when you find the right person, you know it. You and Dad got married pretty fast, too." Right. He was right about that. George and I had married a year after meeting. But it was different. Or so I wanted to believe. The wedding was in an elegant garden in the city. Vanessa wanted everything perfect, everything controlled. I offered to help with the expenses. After all, I was the mother of the groom. "Do not worry, Mrs. Stella." Vanessa told me with that condescending smile. "My parents already covered everything. You just relax and enjoy." I felt like a guest at my own son's wedding. During the ceremony, when the priest asked if anyone had any objection, a thought crossed my mind. But I pushed it back very deep. Ryan looked so happy, so complete. Who was I to ruin that? After the wedding, things changed faster. Ryan and Vanessa moved to an apartment downtown. A nice place, modern, but extremely expensive. When I went to visit them for the first time, Vanessa opened the door with a tense smile. Mrs. Stella, what a surprise. Ryan did not tell me you were coming. I called him in the morning. He told me to come over, I replied, carrying a container with the stew I had cooked for them. Oh, yes. Well, come in. Although I would have preferred we coordinated before you know to have the house presentable. The house was spotless. Too spotless. Like a showroom, not like a home. That visit lasted 20 minutes. Vanessa had an important conference and I understood her job was very demanding. 3 months later, on his 34th birthday, Ryan did not answer my calls. I called him 5 times. Nothing. I sent him messages. Nothing. I spent the whole afternoon looking at the chocolate cake I had baked for him, seeing it there intact, mocking me. The next day I received a brief message. Sorry, Mom, I forgot. Vanessa organized a surprise party with her friends, and I disconnected from the phone. He forgot. His birthday. The day I brought him into the world after 18 hours of labor. That night I cried for the first time. I cried hugging George's pocket watch, that watch he always carried, and that I now kept in my nightstand like a treasure. Oh, George, I whispered in the darkness of my room, what is happening to our son? But the worst had not arrived yet. I did not even imagine what Vanessa had planned, nor how she would use the mother's love I felt as a weapon against me. Because when December arrived and they invited me to spend Christmas with them, I thought things would improve. I thought maybe it was a matter of time for Vanessa to get used to me, how wrong I was. Christmas dinner was at Vanessa's parents' house in the hills, a mansion with 3 floors, a garden, and even a fountain. I arrived with my casseroles and my pies, proud to share our traditions. Vanessa's mom, Gabriella, received me with fake kindness. Oh, Mrs. Stella, you should not have bothered. Here we already have the dinner hired with a catering service. My food ended up in the kitchen, cornered among dirty dishes. During dinner, I was sitting at the end of the table, far from Ryan. I heard laughter, toasts, conversations I was not part of. At one moment, Vanessa raised her glass and said, I toast to this beautiful family that welcomed me to my in-laws who are no longer here, but who surely would be proud of Ryan. George was not there, but I was. I was there alive, present and visible. Ryan did not even correct his wife. He just toasted with a smile. That night, I returned home in a taxi alone while everyone kept celebrating. And there in the back seat of that car that smelled of pine and old cigarettes, I made a decision. I was not going to beg any more for a place in my son's life. If they wanted to push me away, let them try. But it would not be as easy as they believed. The following months were like watching someone die in slow motion. Every unanswered call, every excuse, every I will call you later. Mom that never arrived was like tearing a little piece of my soul. February arrived with its cold air and empty promises. On my 66th birthday, I woke up early as always. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and waited. I waited for the call that used to arrive at 7 in the morning without fail. The call where Ryan sang Happy Birthday out of tune, but with all his heart, just like when he was a child. 7 past 8:09. At 10 in the morning, I got a text message. Happy birthday, Mom. Sorry for not calling. I had a meeting early. We love you very much. We love you plural, as if Vanessa's love for me was real. I did not reply. I stayed looking at that cold, soulless message, and something inside me broke definitely. But life went on because that is what life does. It goes on even if you are falling apart inside. In March, my friend Eleanor invited me to her family party. Come, Stella, you cannot stay alone all the time. You need to distract yourself. Eleanor had known me since we were girls. She knew how to read my sadness, even if I tried to hide it. I went to that gathering, and that was where I heard the words that would confirm my worst suspicions. I was in the kitchen helping serve the punch when I heard the voice of Rose Eleanor's cousin talking in the living room. I did not intend to spy, but my name floated in the conversation like an alarm. Yes, my friend Sandra told me she works with Vanessa. She says that at the office she spends her time complaining about her mother-in-law, that she is too dependent, that she is always seeking attention, that Ryan cannot live his life because his mom does not let him go. The ladle fell from my hands, splashing hot punch on the floor. And what does Ryan say? Another voice asked. Well, according to Sandra, Ryan does not defend her anymore. He says Vanessa has him completely dominated. that Mrs. Stella called crying one day because she had not heard from them in 3 weeks, and Vanessa told Ryan that his mom was manipulative, that she used crying to make him feel guilty. Manipulative. Me. The woman who had worked double shifts as a secretary so my son could study engineering at a private university. The one who sold the deeds to the small land my mom left me to pay for his exchange program in the States. The one who was widowed and did not remarry to dedicate all her attention to that boy who now saw me as a burden. I left that house without saying goodbye. Eleanor caught up with me on the street. "Stella, wait. Do not listen to them. It is just gossip." "Gossip," I told her, feeling the tears starting to burn my eyes. "Eleanor, my son does not speak to me. When he does, it is out of obligation. His wife hates me, and he lets her. That is not gossip. That is my reality." That night, alone in my house, I did something I never thought I would do. I opened Facebook and searched for Vanessa's profile. I did not usually go on social media, but I needed to understand. I needed to see what she showed the world. Her profile was full of photos. Her and Ryan at fancy restaurants. Her and Ryan at the beach. Her and Ryan at parties with friends. Perfect smiles, studied poses, cheesy captions about true love. I kept scrolling and found a Christmas photo, the same Christmas where I had been invisible in that mansion. In the photo appeared Vanessa Ryan and her parents. The caption said, "Christmas with family, blessed to have the best in-laws in the world." I did not exist. There was not even a mention, a comment, nothing. It was as if I had not been there, as if I did not exist. I closed the laptop with such force that the screen shook. My hands were sweating, and my heart was beating so fast I thought I would have a heart attack right there. But the worst arrived in April during the family lunch organized by George's sister, my sister-in-law Patty. It was her daughter's birthday, and we all gathered at her house. I arrived early, as always, to help with preparations. Ryan and Vanessa arrived 2 hours late. When they entered, Vanessa was wearing an ivory silk blouse that must have cost more than my rent for 2 months. Ryan carried a bottle of wine that probably was not cheap either. They looked elegant, successful, perfect. "Excuse the delay," Vanessa said with that smile I already knew so well. "We had a breakfast with investors. You know how business is." Patty gave them their place at the main table. I had to sit with distant cousins near the kitchen. During the meal, Vanessa monopolized all the attention. She talked about her promotion at the company, about the new SUV they were about to buy, about her plans to travel to Europe in the summer. "And well," she said at one moment, wiping her mouth delicately with the napkin, "we are also looking at options to move to a bigger house. The apartment is already too small for us." Ryan nodded excitedly. "Yes, we are looking around the fancy areas, something with a garden, 3 bedrooms with potential." 3 bedrooms, 1 for them, 1 for a study, 1 for guests. At no moment did they mention 1 for the grandmother for me. And Mrs. Stella asked Patty, "Bless my sister-in-law, had you not thought of something where there was also space for her? I mean, so she is close to the grandson when he arrives." The silence that followed was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Veronica let out a nervous laugh. "Oh, Patty, what ideas. Mrs. Stella is very well in her house. She has her things, her memories, her independence. I do not think she wants to be moving at her age, right, Mrs. Stella?" Everyone turned to look at me. I was in the back near the kitchen like a second-class guest at my own family's party. "No, of course not," I lied, feeling my throat closing up. "I am very comfortable where I am." Vanessa smiled victoriously. Ryan did not even look at me. That afternoon, when everyone was saying goodbye with hugs and promises to see each other soon, I approached Ryan. I took him by the arm gently. "Son, can we talk for a moment?" He looked at Vanessa as if asking for permission. She checked her watch. "Ryan, we have to go. We agreed to see the Martins at 6. Mom, can it be another day? My son told me, my only son, without even looking me in the eyes. We are running late." I watched them walk away. Ryan opened the car door for Vanessa with a gentleness he no longer dedicated to me. She got in with elegance without looking back, without saying goodbye. Patty approached and put a hand on my shoulder. "Stella, that woman is not good for Ryan. Anyone can see it." "But he does not see it," I whispered, "or he does not want to see it." That night, back in my empty house, I sat in the dark living room. I did not turn on the lights. I did not turn on the television. I just stayed there on the same armchair where Ryan and I watched movies on Fridays, where he did his homework while I knitted, where we laughed and talked until falling asleep. Now that armchair was only mine, and the house so full of memories felt like a mausoleum. But something was changing inside me. It was not only sadness. It was something darker, colder. It was the beginning of the end of my patience. Because one thing is to be ignored, another very different thing is to be erased. And Vanessa was erasing me line by line from my son's life. What she did not know is that I still had ink, and I was about to write my own ending. May arrived with its suffocating heat and with a call that would change everything. It was Saturday morning. I was watering the patio plants when the phone rang. Ryan. My heart gave a silly, hopeful jump, as if it were the first time he called me in months. Mom, how are you? His voice sounded strangely animated, almost forced. We have not talked in a long time. 3 months. 3 exact months since the last time we had a real conversation. Here, son, doing the same old things. That is good, that is good. Hey, Mom, Vanessa and I want to stop by to see you this afternoon. We have something important to tell you, something that is going to make you very happy. Something important. How ironic. When something really important had happened in my life, like when I had gallbladder surgery last year, he was not there. He arrived at the hospital when I was already in recovery with a bouquet of withered flowers he had clearly bought at the gas station. Sure, son, I will wait for you. I hung up, and a strange sensation ran through my body. It was not excitement. It was something more like a premonition that intuition mothers develop after years of knowing our children. I spent the afternoon cooking. I made iced tea, cut fruit, made potato tacos. Part of me still wanted to please him, still sought his approval as if he were that 7-year-old boy who hugged me and told me I made the best food in the world. They arrived at 5 in the afternoon. Vanessa wore a beige dress, dark glasses she did not take off until entering the house, and that smile I had already learned to decipher, fake, calculating, dangerous. Mrs. Stella, your house looks so nice, she said, looking around as if it were the first time she came when she had been there at least 10 times. It has a very traditional charm. Traditional. Another elegant way of saying old, outdated. We sat in the living room. Ryan was nervous, restless, avoiding my gaze. Vanessa, on the other hand, was relaxed in total control of the situation. Mom, we have wonderful news. Ryan began, finally looking at me. His eyes shone, but I could not distinguish if it was happiness or something else. Vanessa is pregnant. You are going to be a grandma. The world stopped for a second. Grandma. I was going to be a grandma, a grandson, the continuation of George, of me, of our family. Tears sprang without permission. I got up to hug Ryan, but Vanessa stood in between, extending her hand formally, as if we were business partners. Thank you, Mrs. Stella. We are very excited. I sat down again, wiping my tears with the back of my hand, trying to process the information. But that is not all, continued, Vanessa crossing her legs elegantly. We also want to share with you our future plans. Ryan and I have been thinking a lot about what kind of life we want to give our baby. Here it came. I felt it in the air in the way Vanessa leaned forward and how Ryan looked at the floor. The apartment where we live is too small to raise a child. We need space, a garden, a place where he can grow safe and happy. You are right, I said without understanding yet where this was going. You could look for a house to rent while you save to buy something of your own. Vanessa let out a little laugh that gave me goosebumps. Well, Mrs. Stella, actually, we came to propose something much better, something that would benefit us all. Ryan finally spoke. Mom, we have thought about your land, the one in Greenwood, the one Dad left you. My land, the land George bought 20 years ago with his life savings. The land that had increased in value year after year because the area became one of the most sought after in the city. 6,000 square feet in a privileged location. My heritage, my security. What about my land, I asked, feeling my mouth go dry. Well, Vanessa took the word as if it were her conversation, her decision. The truth is, at your age, Mrs. Stella maintaining a land of that size is complicated. You have to pay property taxes, services, and you are not even using it. It is there empty without any purpose. It is my heritage, I replied, firmer than I expected. It is what George left me. Exactly, interrupted Ryan with that soft voice he used when he wanted to convince me of something. It is your heritage, Mom. But it could be so much more. We could build a beautiful house there, a big house, 2 stories with a garden, and you could live with us. We would be a real family as if we had not been one before, as if the last 4 years of distance and contempt were just my imagination. We would build everything with our savings, continued Vanessa. We have very good contacts with architects and builders. We would make something modern functional. And obviously we would have a special space for you, Mrs. Stella, your own bedroom with a bathroom so you have privacy, but are close to your grandson. My own bedroom, on my own land. How generous. I do not know, I said slowly, trying to order my thoughts. It is something very big. I need to think about it. Vanessa's mask cracked for a second. I saw frustration in her eyes. Mom. Ryan knelt in front of me, taking my hands. It had been so long since he touched me like that, I almost forgot how it felt. Think about it. You could watch your grandson grow every day. You would not be alone in this big house. We would all be together like a family. Is that not what you have always wanted? He was right. It was exactly what I had always wanted. To be close to my son, to my future grandson, not waking up alone every morning in this house full of memories and empty of life. And how would it work exactly, I asked, feeling my resistance starting to weaken. The expenses, the construction, the ownership. Everything would be very simple, said Vanessa, taking some perfectly folded papers out of her bag. My friend Bernard is a notary. He would help us with all the paperwork. Basically, you would keep ownership of the land, but you would give us legal permission to build. It is a temporary contract while the house is being made. Later, when everything is ready, we can make the final arrangements so we are all registered as owners. Everything very transparent, everything legal. The papers trembled in my hands. There was fine print, long paragraphs, legal terms I did not understand. I do not know. Let me read it calmly. Consult with Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris! Vanessa almost spat the name. That man must be like 90 years old, Mom. With all due respect, we need updated lawyers who understand how things work now. Mr. Morris was 74 and had been George's trusted lawyer for 30 years. But Vanessa had that way of making you doubt everything, even the people you trusted most. Mom. Ryan squeezed my hands. Trust me. When have I failed you? That question hurt more than he imagined, because the answer was constantly during the last 4 years. But at that moment, with his pleading eyes and the promise of a grandson, of a united family, of not being alone anymore, all that clouded my judgment. It is fine, I whispered, but I want to read everything before signing. Vanessa smiled, and that smile should have warned me that I had just made the biggest mistake of my life. The next 3 months were a whirlwind of contradictory emotions. On one hand, Ryan came back to my life. He called me almost every day, stopped by to see me on weekends, even accompanied me to the market one Saturday like when he was a child. On the other hand, something did not feel right. It was as if everything was too perfect, too sudden. Vanessa organized everything with military efficiency. She arrived at my house with folders full of blueprints, catalogs of finishes, budgets from construction companies. Always smiling, always kind, always pushing for things to move faster. Mrs. Stella, look how beautiful these porcelain floors would look in the living room, she said, showing me decoration magazines, and in your bedroom, we could put a huge closet with space for all your things. My bedroom. Every time she said it, something in my stomach twisted. One afternoon in July, Vanessa arrived with Bernard the notary. He was a man of about 45. Expensive suit, rehearsed smile, handshake too strong. Mrs. Stella, it is a pleasure. Vanessa has spoken wonders of you, he said, opening his briefcase on my dining table. We are going to make all this quick and simple so it does not get complicated. Quick and simple. Those words should have alarmed me. He put a pile of documents in front of me. This is just a temporary authorization so your son can start construction on the land. You keep complete ownership. Do not worry. It is pure formality. And why can he not build without this paper, I asked, trying to understand. Bernard let out a condescending laugh. Oh, ma'am, it is just that the bank does not lend money for construction if the one requesting the credit does not have some document showing their right to build on the land. It is simple bureaucracy. Nothing to worry about. Ryan was sitting next to me, nodding with every word from the notary. It is normal, Mom. All banks ask for the same thing. I took the pen Bernard extended to me. It weighed as if it were made of lead. I looked at my son, searching his eyes for some sign of doubt, of warning. I only saw excitement, hope, that light that had been off for years. I signed. 1, 2, 3 sheets, my full name on every dotted line. Perfect, said Bernard, putting away the papers quickly. In 2 weeks we would have the credit approved and could start construction. They kept their word. 2 weeks later the machines arrived at my land. The noise of tractors, the dust, the constant movement of workers transformed that quiet space into organized chaos. Ryan took me to see the progress every week. Look, Mom, here is going to be the kitchen, huge with a central island, and back there your room with big windows to let the sun in. By September, the walls were already up. It was a beautiful house, I could not deny it. 2 stories, modern facade, wide windows. Vanessa had designed every detail. One Sunday, while we were eating at my house, Vanessa dropped the bomb. Mrs. Stella, we have wonderful news, she said, caressing her 5-month belly. The baby is a boy. He is going to be named Matthew, like my grandfather. Matthew. They did not even consider naming him George, like his paternal grandfather. What a nice name, I lied, feeling a stab in the chest. And well, with the baby coming, we need to speed up. Construction, continued Vanessa. The problem is that the budget is going a little higher than expected. Materials went up. You know how the situation is. Ryan cleared his throat, uncomfortable. Mom, we thought. Well, the land is yours. The house is going to be for everyone. Could you help us with a part of the construction? There it was, the real reason for all this sudden reconciliation. How much do you need? I asked, although I already knew the answer would be high. $100,000, said Vanessa without blinking. I know it sounds like a lot, but it is an investment. It is for the house where your grandson is going to grow up. $100,000. The savings I had from my retirement from George's life insurance from years of work, my financial cushion, my security. It is all I have, I whispered. We know, Mom. Ryan took my hand, and that is why it means so much to us. It would be your gift for your grandson. Imagine when Matthew grows up, you will be able to tell him his grandmother helped build his house, Vanessa added. Besides, Mrs. Stella, when the construction ends, the house is going to be worth at least $500,000. Your investment will triple. The following days were torture. Mr. Morris called me worried. Stella, I do not like this. Let me review the papers you signed. But it was already late. I had already said yes. I had already promised the money. And above all, I had already seen the illusion in Ryan's eyes. I transferred the $100,000 to the construction company's account. I watched my bank balance drop suddenly, leaving me with barely $5,000 in reserve. That night, I could not sleep. I stayed looking at the ceiling, hugging George's pocket watch. Forgive me, my love, I whispered to the air. Forgive me for spending your savings like this. But it is for our grandson. It is for the family. In December, Matthew was born. When Ryan called me from the hospital, I was ready with the diaper bag. I had bought the little gifts I had knitted with my own hands. Mom better not come today. Vanessa is very tired and needs to rest. We will let you know tomorrow. Tomorrow turned into 3 days. When they finally let me go to the hospital, Matthew was already 4 days old. The room was full of flowers, balloons, visitors. Vanessa's parents, her sisters, her friends. I arrived with my humble gift and my broken heart. Vanessa allowed me to hold Matthew for exactly 5 minutes. Careful with his little head, ma'am. Not like that. Let me show you how it is done. That beautiful baby with Ryan's eyes and George's nose was my grandson. But it felt as if he were Vanessa's private property. February arrived with the house almost finished. It looked spectacular. But when I went to see my supposed bedroom, my heart fell to the floor. It was not a bedroom. It was a utility room. Small, dark, with a tiny bathroom and a window facing the backyard. It is temporary, Mom explained Ryan, until we finish arranging everything. Lie. It was all a lie, and I had been too foolish to see it coming. March of the following year arrived with the promise of the move. The house was ready, impressive with its 2 shining floors and its perfectly designed garden. Vanessa organized a small housewarming. She invited her friends, her parents, work colleagues. I helped in the kitchen preparing snacks no one thanked me for. Mrs. Stella, the shrimp go on the terrace table, not here, corrected Vanessa, moving the tray I had arranged with so much care. During the tour, Vanessa gave her guests I heard every word from the kitchen. This is the master bedroom with walk-in closet and full bath. Here is Matthew's room, designed with neutral colors to stimulate his development. And this is Ryan's study. No one asked where my room was. No one seemed to notice my absence on the tour. When everyone left, Vanessa took me to the back of the house. Here is your space, Mrs. Stella. I know it is small, but it is cozy. Cozy. The room measured barely 10 by 10 feet. The single bed barely fit next to the old wardrobe they had brought from my house. The bathroom was so narrow you had to enter sideways. The window faced the neighbor's wall. It is temporary, I repeated Ryan's words like a mantra. It is temporary, but it was not. The move was chaotic. My house furniture was distributed throughout the new construction. My living room ended up in the main hall, my dining room in the guest area, my paintings on the walls Vanessa chose. All my things scattered everywhere, but nothing really mine. Oh, Mrs. Stella, this armchair is very worn. Better we put it in storage, said Vanessa, pointing to the armchair where George read the newspaper every morning. These plates are chipped, we have to throw them away. My parents' wedding plates with their gold edges and their small imperfections. This painting does not go with the modern decor. The painting Ryan painted for me in elementary school, his first self-portrait my entire life, being discarded piece by piece. The rules arrived in the second week. Vanessa called them coexistence agreements and wrote them on a sheet she stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet. Kitchen hours, 7 to 8 a.m. and 6 to 7 p.m. Outside these hours, please do not use the stove. No visitors without warning 24 hours in advance. Laundry days, Tuesdays and Fridays. Maximum 2 loads. Forbidden to enter Matthew's bedroom without authorization. I read that list feeling humiliation burning my cheeks. Forbidden to enter my own grandson's room. They are just to organize ourselves better, explained Ryan when I complained. Living together requires limits, Mom. Do not take it personal. How not to take it personal when they were treating me like an employee on my own land? The humiliations became daily. One Tuesday, Vanessa entered my room without knocking. Mrs. Stella. Did you use my shampoo? She asked with crossed arms. No, I have my own. Well, because yesterday it was full and today it is half empty, and since you are the only one who enters the upstairs bathroom when you clean. I tell you I did not use it, Vanessa. It is fine, it is fine. I am just saying if you need something you can ask. You do not have to take things that are not yours. She was accusing me of being a thief on my own land with my own money invested in every inch of that house. Even worse was the day I wanted to hold Matthew. The baby was crying in his stroller in the living room. I was nearby folding clothes. I took him in my arms, rocking him gently as I had rocked Ryan 34 years ago. Vanessa came down the stairs running. What are you doing, Mrs. Stella? Nothing, I was just calming him down. I have told you 1,000 times not to hold him without washing your hands first. The bacteria, ma'am. The bacteria. She snatched Matthew from my arms as if I were a threat, as if I were a dangerous stranger. I washed my hands. I lied, feeling tears wanting to come out. No, you did not. I saw you. You were folding clothes, and then you touched him. Please be more careful with my son, my grandson. Not her son, my grandson. May brought another surprise. We were having dinner, one of the few moments where the 3 of us shared the table. Mrs. Stella, we need to talk about something important, began Vanessa, wiping her mouth delicately. Ryan stopped eating, looking at his plate. The truth is, house expenses are very high: water, electricity, gas, property tax. Everything went up a lot. I can help, I offered. I have my pension. Yes, well, precisely, that is what we wanted to talk about. We believe it would be fair for you to contribute with a proportional part of the expenses. Sure, no problem. How much? Vanessa slid a paper across the table. It was a detailed list: electricity, water, gas, internet, property tax, maintenance. At the end, in red numbers, suggested monthly contribution: $500. $500. Almost half my pension. "It is just that is a lot," I stammered. "Mrs. Stella, you live here, you use the services. You cannot expect everything to be free." "But I put $100,000 for the construction, and the land is mine." Vanessa's face hardened. "The land is yours, but the house is ours. We paid for the construction, the finish is everything. Your contribution was voluntary, no one forced you." I looked at Ryan, hoping he would defend me, that he would say something. "Mom, it is fair. We must all contribute." That night, alone in my little room at the back, I did the math. With the monthly payment, I would have barely $300 left for food, medicine, transport, everything. And I still needed to pay for medical insurance. I sat on the edge of the bed and took George's watch from the nightstand drawer. "They are robbing me, my love," I whispered to the watch. "They are robbing my money, my dignity, my grandson, and I do not know how to stop them." But then I remembered something. I remembered that months ago, when I started feeling something was not right, I had called Mr. Morris. He had insisted on reviewing the papers. "Stella, bring me everything you signed, everything." And I had done it. I had brought him copies of every document. I got up from the bed and searched in the bottom of my closet for the shoebox where I kept important papers. There was Mr. Morris's card and a note he himself had written. "Stella, when you are ready to act, call me." I kept the card in my pocket. It was not time yet. I needed more evidence, more proof, because something told me the worst was yet to come. And I was right. The following months were the darkest of my life. June, July, August passed in a fog of daily humiliations that made me question if I still existed, or if I had become a ghost on my own land. Mornings were the worst. I woke up at 5:30 before everyone to use the kitchen without bothering. I made my coffee in silence, being careful that the coffee maker did not make noise. Once I dropped a spoon in the sink, and Vanessa came down furious. "Mrs. Stella, it is 6 in the morning. Matthew just fell asleep 2 hours ago. Can you be more careful?" I apologized as if I had committed a crime, as if making noise in my own kitchen were an unforgivable sin. Worse was the day I wanted to invite Eleanor to lunch. I let Vanessa know a week in advance as the rules required. "Mrs. Stella, that day the house is committed. Some of Ryan's clients are coming to close a deal. You cannot have visitors. But I told you a week ago, and I am telling you with 2 weeks that that day is occupied. Business visits have priority. I had to cancel on Eleanor. I cannot receive you here. Shall we meet at your house?" I wrote her, feeling shame burning my bones. "Stella, what is happening?" she asked me on the phone. "That house is on your land. How can you not receive visitors?" I did not know what to answer, because explaining it out loud would make it all too real, too pathetic. In July, my sister Connie came from out of state to visit me. I had not seen her for 2 years. When she arrived and saw where they had relegated me, her eyes filled with tears. "Stella, this is a utility room. What did they do to you?" "It is temporary." I lied again. That lie I did not even believe anymore. During her 3-day visit, Connie saw everything. She saw how Vanessa spoke to me with that condescending tone. She saw how Ryan ignored me when his wife was present. She saw how they forbid me from holding Matthew without supervision. "That baby is your grandson, Stella. You have rights. I do not want to cause problems. Matthew is Vanessa's son. She decides. Matthew is your son's son, and you are his grandmother. React, sister. They are trampling on you." But I remained paralyzed. I kept believing that if I behaved well, if I obeyed all the absurd rules, eventually things would improve. August brought the drop that almost overflowed the glass. Vanessa found a lipstick mark on a towel. "Mrs. Stella, did you use the white towels in the guest bathroom?" "No, I have mine." "Well, someone used them and stained them. And since you clean the bathrooms." "It was not me, Vanessa." "Well, someone has to replace those towels. The set cost $80. I am going to deduct $20 from your next payment. My next payment. As if I were an employee. as if the $500 I already paid monthly were not enough humiliation. That night, I called Mr. Morris from my room with the door closed and speaking in whispers. "Mr. Morris, I need to know exactly what I signed. I need to know if I can do something. Stella." "I have been waiting for you. Come tomorrow to the office. I have information you need to know." The next day, I invented that I had a doctor's appointment. I took the subway downtown. I walked the 3 blocks to the old building where Mr. Morris had his office for 40 years. He received me with a fatherly hug. He offered me coffee, made me sit down. Then he took out a thick folder. "Stella, what I'm going to tell you are not going to like, but you need to know it." My heart started beating faster. "The papers you signed were not a temporary authorization. It was a transfer of construction rights. Basically, you gave Ryan and Vanessa the legal right to build on your land and register the construction in their name." The world started spinning. What does that mean? It means the house, although it is on your land, legally belongs to them. If they wanted, they could sue you for land use and force you to pay rent to live there. But Bernard said it was temporary, that I would keep ownership. Bernard lied. Or worse, he knew exactly what he was doing. I have investigated that notary. He has several lawsuits for real estate fraud. He is a close friend of Vanessa. They work together regularly. Tears began falling uncontrollably. "Mr. Morris, I invested $100,000. It is all I had. I know Stella, and there is more. I investigated Vanessa's finances. She has debt for $50,000 on credit cards. She is being sued by 2 banks. That woman is desperate for money. Everything started making sense. The convenient pregnancy, Ryan's sudden interest, the fast construction, the constant pressure." "What can I do?" I asked, wiping my tears. "We can sue. We have grounds for fraud to recover your investment to fight for ownership. But I need you to bring me more evidence, recordings, messages, documents, everything you can get." I left that office turned into another person. I was no longer the naive grandmother who believed in her son's good intentions. I was a woman who had just understood she had been scammed by her own family. I bought a small recorder at a downtown stall. $40 that hurt to spend, but I knew were an investment. Back home, or what was left of it, Vanessa was waiting for me at the door. "Where were you, Mrs. Stella? I looked for you all afternoon. Matthew was crying, and I needed you to watch him while I worked. I had a medical appointment, I told you. Well, next time, leave your phone on. I called you like 10 times. I checked my phone. There was no missed call." That night in my room, I activated the recorder and hid it in my robe pocket. From that moment, every conversation, every humiliation, every absurd order was recorded. September arrived with the rent collection. Vanessa called me to the living room. "Mrs. Stella, the $500 monthly is no longer enough. Services went up. Starting this month, it will be $800. $800 more than half my pension. I cannot pay that, Vanessa. Then we will have to look for other alternatives. Maybe it is time you look for a cheaper place to live." The recorder in my pocket captured every word, every veiled threat, every attempt to get me off my own land. And I kept gathering evidence. I remained the obedient old lady who caused no problems, because now I had a plan. Now I knew exactly what I had to do. I was just waiting for the perfect moment to act. October found me transformed. On the outside, I was still the same submissive Stella, asking permission to use her own kitchen, bowing her head at every order from Vanessa. Inside, I was a woman on a mission, a woman documenting every injustice with the precision of a detective. The recorder became my best ally. I carried it in my robe pocket, in my grocery bag, hidden among the rags when I cleaned. Every conversation remained recorded, every humiliation, every threat, every lie. One afternoon, while I pretended to clean Ryan's study, I found something that froze my blood. On his desk, half hidden under some papers, was a bank document, a mortgage loan statement. I took out my phone with trembling hands and took a photo. The loan was for $200,000, the collateral my land, the guarantee the construction registered in Ryan and Vanessa's name. They had used my property to get into debt without my permission, without my knowledge. That night, I met again with Mr. Morris. I brought him the photographs, the recordings, everything. "Stella, this is fraud, major fraud. They used your property as collateral without your consent. And the loan. What was it for?" Mr. Morris investigated. 2 days later, he called me with the answer. The money was used to pay Vanessa's debts and to buy the new SUV they have. It was not for the construction. You paid for the construction with your $100,000. I sat on a park bench where no one could hear my conversation. The world spun around me while I processed the information. "I also discovered something else," continued Mr. Morris. "Bernard the notary was disbarred from the Notary Association 3 months ago. The documents you signed do not have full legal validity. There are irregularities. What does that mean? It means we can fight and we can win. But we need to act soon before they try to legalize something else or sell the property. Sell. Can they do that? With the fraudulent documents they have, they could try. I have seen cases like this. That is why we need to move now, Stella. I spent the following weeks preparing myself. Mr. Morris drafted the lawsuit. Real estate fraud, illegal use of property as collateral, document forgery, dispossession. We gathered all the evidence, the recordings, the photographs, the bank statements, testimonies from Eleanor and Connie. We also investigated Vanessa deeper. Mr. Morris hired a private investigator. What we discovered was devastating. Vanessa had 2 credit cards maxed out. She owed $50,000, as Mr. Morris had said, but she also had a judgment for fraud from a previous company where she worked. She had falsified invoices. They had fired and sued her. Ryan knew nothing of this. My son had married a professional liar and did not even know it. One night in November, while we were eating, Vanessa dropped another bomb. "Mrs. Stella Ryan and I have been thinking. This living arrangement is not working." Ryan looked at his plate, unable to meet my eyes. "We believe it would be better for everyone if you looked for your own space, a small apartment close to here. That way we would maintain our independence but stay in touch." The recorder in my pocket captured every word. "But this is my land," I said softly without getting upset. "Yes, but the house is ours and living all together is generating friction. You deserve your peace, Mrs. Stella. We can help you with the rent of a place the first few months while you settle." They wanted me out. They wanted my land, my investment, my heritage, and they wanted to throw me out like you throw out old furniture that is no longer useful. "Let me think about it," I said, getting up from the table. In my room, I dialed Mr. Morris. "It is time. Prepare everything. I want to act next week." "Are you sure, Stella?" "Completely sure." The following days were the hardest of my life. Continuing to fake normality, knowing what was coming. Seeing Ryan play with Matthew, knowing that in days our relationship would change forever. Part of me still loved my son, still wanted to believe he was a victim of Vanessa, that she had manipulated him. But another part, the part that had awakened after months of humiliations, knew the truth. Ryan had chosen. He had chosen money comfort, the easy life, and he had sacrificed me in the process. Tuesday of the following week, Ryan called me. It was noon. I was at the market buying vegetables. "Mom, I am calling you quickly because I am on my way out. We moved to Austin last week. Vanessa got an incredible job there, and well, we forgot to tell you. You know how these things are. Everything was very fast. The world stopped. The lady at the vegetable stand was charging me, but I did not hear her. I only heard those words. We forgot to tell you. They had moved. With my grandson, with my $100,000 invested with my mortgaged land, and they had forgotten to tell me." "It is okay, son," I replied with a calm I did not feel. "Good luck in this new chapter." I hung up. I left the vegetables there without buying. I walked straight home. I went up to my room. I closed the door. I opened my laptop. I had bought it at a nearby cyber cafe, paying in cash, so Vanessa would not know I had one. I entered my email. I drafted the message to Mr. Morris. "It is time. Let us start everything today. I am attaching the last recordings." I pressed send. Then I did something else. I entered the family WhatsApp group, the one where my sisters-in-law, my cousins, my sister were. I wrote a long, detailed message. I told them everything. The scam, the fraud, the humiliations, Vanessa's debts, the illegal loan. I attached photos of the documents. I pressed send and turned off the phone. I sat on the edge of my bed. I hugged George's watch. It is done, my love. I got tired of being the fool. I got tired of allowing them to trample me. Now comes my turn. In 72 hours, Ryan would receive a legal summons, an order to freeze accounts, a lawsuit for fraud that could take him to jail. And when that happened, he would finally understand that forgetting your mother has consequences. Because I had not forgotten anything. And now, finally, it was time to collect. That night, I did not sleep. I stayed sitting on the edge of my bed, looking at the turned-off phone on the nightstand. Outside, the city followed its normal rhythm. Dogs barked, cars passed, life went on. But inside me, something had changed forever. At 6 a.m, I turned on the phone. Immediately, messages started arriving. Eleanor, Connie, my sisters-in-law, my cousins, everyone had seen what I shared in the family group. Stella, I cannot believe what they did to you. Cousin, count on us for whatever you need. That wretch Ryan is going to pay for this. But the message that broke my soul was from Patty, my sister-in-law. Stella George would be proud of you. It was time you defended yourself. We love you. I showered, got dressed, made coffee. For the first time in months, I used the kitchen without fear, without watching the clock. After all, there was no one left to bother. The house was empty. Ryan and Vanessa had left without saying goodbye, like thieves in the night. At 9 a.m, Mr. Morris arrived at the house. He came accompanied by another younger lawyer, his associate, Mr. Henderson. Stella, good morning. Ready for this. More ready than I have been in my life. We sat at the dining table, that table I had bought with my first paycheck as a secretary 35 years ago. Mr. Morris spread documents on the surface. The lawsuit is already filed. The judge admitted it this morning, as it is a case of flagrant fraud. In 48 hours they will be notified, and the seizure, it is already in process. We froze the account where the mortgage loan is. We also alerted the bank so they cannot make moves with the property, Mr. Henderson added. Also, we contacted the district attorney about the fraudulent notary issue. Bernard already has an investigation order. If Vanessa and he work together on this, she will also face charges. And Ryan? I asked, feeling my voice break. Mr. Morris sighed. Ryan is an accomplice, Stella. He signed documents. He used your property. He benefited from the fraud. Legally, he is as guilty as Vanessa. I nodded, swallowing tears. My son, my only son, the boy who had grown up in this house, who had played in this garden, who had promised to take care of me always. There is something else you need to know, continued Mr. Morris. We investigated the job offer in Austin. It does not exist. Vanessa does not have any job there. They moved to flee to get away before you could react. So what are they going to do? Probably try to sell the house fast before we catch them legally. That is why we acted so fast. The property is already frozen. They cannot sell it without facing criminal consequences. I passed the rest of the day in a strange state of alert. Every time the phone rang, my heart jumped. But Ryan did not call, nor Vanessa. Absolute silence. On Thursday afternoon, 48 hours after sending my email, I received the call I had been waiting for. Ryan. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Mom. His voice sounded desperate, broken. Mom, what did you do? Good morning, Ryan. Do not start with that. We just got a court summons. Are you suing us? You, my own mother. Yes, I am suing you and your wife for fraud, dispossession, and illegal use of my property. You are crazy. We did everything in good faith. You accepted everything. I accepted under deception. I signed documents that you told me were temporary, when in reality they were a transfer of rights. You used my land as collateral for a loan without my authorization. And you spent my $100,000 paying Vanessa's debts and buying an SUV. Silence on the other side. Mom, I did not know. You did not know what, Ryan? You did not know your wife has $50,000 in debt. You did not know she was fired from her previous job for fraud. Or you did not know you had me living in a utility room after investing all my savings in your house. Mom, please, we can fix this. It does not have to go to court. You should have thought about that before moving without telling me, before forgetting you had a mother. It was a last-minute decision. Vanessa got a job and... Vanessa does not have a job in Austin, Ryan. We already investigated. You fled because you knew what you had done. Another silence. Longer. Heavier. What do you want, Mom? Money. The house. Tell me what you want and we will fix it. I want justice. I want you to face the consequences of your acts. And I want to recover my dignity. You are going to ruin us. The freeze left us without money. We have a baby mom, your grandson, my grandson whom you did not let me hold, my grandson whom I forgot how to be a grandmother to when you forgot to tell me you were moving. Please. Ryan's voice broke. Mom, please, I am your son. Those words hurt me more than I expected. I closed my eyes. I squeezed George's watch in my pocket. Precisely for that reason, it hurts so much, Ryan, because you are my son. And even so, you betrayed me. Mom, on Monday you have a preliminary hearing. I suggest you get a good lawyer. Mr. Morris is not going to have mercy. Wait, do not hang up. I hung up, turned off the phone. I sat in the living room armchair, the same one where Ryan used to fall asleep watching cartoons. The tears I had been holding back finally came out. I cried for the son I had lost, for the family I would never have, for the years of humiliations I had endured believing that love could do everything. But I also cried of relief, because for the first time in years I had defended my dignity. I had said enough, and although it hurt, although it broke my soul, I knew I had done the right thing. Eleanor arrived that night with food. She sat with me in silence, holding my hand. "Do you think I did right?" I asked her. "You did what you should have done years ago, Stella. No one has the right to treat you like that, not even your own son." That night I slept better than in months, without a hidden recorder, without fear of making noise, without absurd rules stuck on the refrigerator. Because finally, after so much time, I felt like the owner of my own life again. The weekend was an agony of silence. Ryan did not call again. The phone remained mute, mocking me with its dark screen. But I knew the calm was only the waiting room for the storm. On Monday at 8 in the morning, Mr. Morris picked me up to go to the preliminary hearing. I put on my best dress, the brown one George had given me on our last anniversary. I pulled my hair back in an elegant bun. I wanted to look dignified, strong, not like the broken old lady they had tried to make of me. The courthouse was downtown. Old building, echoing hallways, people waiting on worn wooden benches. Mr. Morris took me to a small room. "Breathe, Stella. You will see everything goes well." At 9 o'clock sharp, we entered the courtroom, and there they were. Ryan in a suit having dark circles haggard, Vanessa in a discreet black dress, hair tied back, minimal makeup. She tried to look vulnerable, a victim, but I already knew her game. We looked at each other. Ryan looked down immediately. Vanessa held my gaze with pure hate without disguise. The judge entered and began the hearing. He read the charges. Real estate fraud, forgery of documents, illegal use of property as mortgage collateral dispossession. Their lawyer, a young guy in a cheap suit, tried to argue that everything had been a misunderstanding, that I had given my consent, that it was a family dispute that did not merit legal action. Mr. Morris destroyed every argument with surgical precision. He presented the recordings where Vanessa threatened to kick me out. He presented the documents of the fraudulent loan. He presented the report on Bernard, the corrupt notary. "Your Honor," said Mr. Morris with a firm voice, "my client is a 68-year-old woman who was systematically stripped of her assets by her own son and her daughter-in-law. She invested $100,000 of her only savings, believing she was building a family home. Instead, she was relegated to a utility room, forced to pay rent on her own land, and finally abandoned without even a goodbye." Ryan wiped away tears. Vanessa remained rigid, calculating. The judge reviewed the documents with a grave expression. Then he looked at Ryan. "Mr. Miller, is it true that you used your mother's land as collateral for a mortgage loan without her explicit consent?" Ryan stammered. "I thought she knew." "Yes or no, Mr. Miller?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And is it true that you moved residence without informing the owner of the land where your home was built?" "Yes, but—" "Enough." The judge closed the folder with a sharp blow. "I declare the lawsuit admissible. The freeze on the property and bank accounts is maintained. A criminal investigation is ordered against Mrs. Vanessa Sanchez for her relationship with the notary Bernard Higgins. Next hearing in 30 days for presentation of additional evidence. The gavel fell. Vanessa stood up shouting, "This is unfair. That manipulative old woman tricked us. She signed everything voluntarily." "Order," shouted the judge. "Mrs. Sanchez, one more outburst and I accuse you of contempt. Dismissed." We left the room. In the hallway, Ryan caught up with me. He looked destroyed, as if he had aged 10 years in a week. "Mom, please let us talk. This does not have to destroy our family, Ryan. You destroyed our family when you decided I did not matter." It was Vanessa. She convinced me of everything. I did not know about her debts, her legal problems. She lied to me. Vanessa approached like a caged beast. "Now you blame me. You agreed to everything. You signed the papers. Because you told me it was normal that all families did it like that." I watched them fight and felt a strange mix of sadness and satisfaction. The perfect mask of their marriage was falling to pieces. Mr. Morris took my arm. "Let us go, Stella. You do not have to witness this." But Vanessa had not finished. She planted herself in front of me with crossed arms. "This is not going to stay like this, lady. We are going to fight. We are going to prove you gave us everything voluntarily, and when we lose everything because of you, you will never see your grandson again." That threat hit me in the chest. Matthew, my innocent grandson, in the middle of all this disaster. "Matthew is the only thing that hurts me in all this," I replied with a trembling but firm voice, "because he is not to blame for having a fraudulent mother and a cowardly father. But I am not going to let you use that child as a shield to get your way. You are a bitter woman who cannot stand seeing her son happy." "I would be happy seeing my son happy, but you do not make him happy, Vanessa. You are only dragging him into your pit of lies and debts." Ryan got between us. "Enough. Both of you." I looked him in the eyes, those eyes that once looked at me with pure son's love. "Ryan, you are still in time to do the right thing. You can testify in my favor, admit what you did, try to repair the damage, or you can continue with her and sink completely. She is my wife. Mom, she is the mother of my son. And I am your mother, the woman who carried you, raised. You gave you everything, but it seems that means nothing to you anymore." I turned around and walked toward the exit with Mr. Morris. Behind, I heard Vanessa's screams, Ryan's crying, the chaos of their world crumbling. Outside, the sun shone with an almost offensive intensity, as if the universe ignored that my heart was torn to pieces. "You did very well, Stella," Mr. Morris told me. "I know it hurts, but you are on the right side. And what if I lose my son forever? If you lose him for defending your dignity, then he was never really yours." Those words accompanied me all the way home. The empty house, yes, but now also free. Free of absurd rules, of looks, of contempt, of daily humiliations. That afternoon, alone in my room, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a photo of Matthew playing with blocks. And a text. "Your grandson whom you will never see again. I hope your revenge was worth it. Vanessa." I cried, hugging George's watch. I cried for Matthew, for Ryan, for everything that could be and would never be. But I did not regret it, because sometimes true love means letting go, and sometimes it means fighting, even if it hurts to the soul. The following weeks were an emotional roller coaster. Every morning I woke up waiting to feel regret for what I had done, but it never came. Instead, I felt something I had forgotten. Peace. Mr. Morris kept me informed of every advance. The investigation on Bernard revealed he had falsified documents for at least 12 other families. Vanessa had been his accomplice in 3 of those cases, receiving commissions for referring clients. She was a professional scammer, and Ryan had been just her most convenient victim. "Stella, there is news Mr. Morris told me one afternoon at the end of November. Ryan wants to talk to you, without lawyers, without Vanessa, just you two." My first instinct was to refuse, but something in me, that part that was still a mother, needed to hear him. We met at a neutral coffee shop, one of those impersonal places full of people who did not know us. Ryan arrived 15 minutes late. He had a beard of several days, deep circles under his eyes, a wrinkled suit. He looked destroyed. He sat in front of me, saying nothing for a long minute. He just looked at me as if he were seeing a ghost. "Mom," I started, but his voice broke. "Speak, Ryan, that is what you came for. You were right about everything. Vanessa lied to me from the beginning. The debts, the previous frauds, her relationship with Bernard, nothing she told me was true. And when did you realize?" 2 weeks ago. I found emails between her and Bernard. They planned everything before we even met. She investigated me, Mom. She knew about the land you inherited from Dad before I mentioned it to her. She looked for me on purpose. Those words should have given me satisfaction, but I only felt sadness. Sadness for my son, so naive, so manipulated. And Matthew. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. "Vanessa is using him. She threatens not to let me see him if I testify in your favor. She says she will say I am a negligent father, that I let you mistreat our son. Me. Mistreat Matthew, when she barely let me hold him. I know, Mom, and I am sorry. I am sorry for everything. I am sorry for treating you how we treated you. I am sorry for robbing you. I am sorry for not defending you when she humiliated you. I am sorry." His voice got lost in sobs. Seeing my son cry broke my heart, but I was not going to give in. Not yet. "Ryan, apologies are fine, but I need more than words. I know. That is why I came. I am going to testify. I am going to tell the truth about everything. About how Vanessa planned everything. About the fraud. About how we treated you. I am going to face the consequences. And Vanessa. I already asked for a divorce. Mr. Morris referred me to a lawyer. I will fight for custody of Matthew, although I know it will be difficult." I reached my hand over the table and touched his. It was cold, trembling. "Son, you did terrible things. You hurt me in ways I did not know were possible. But you are still my son, and if you are willing to do the right thing to face the truth, then we can try to rebuild something. Do you forgive me? Forgiving you is going to take time. Trusting you again is going to take even more. But I am willing to try. As long as you understand one thing, I will never again allow myself to be treated as I was treated. I will never again be the convenient mother who accepts crumbs of attention. I do not want you to be that mom. I want you to be my mother, the strong woman who raised me, the one who taught me that doing the right thing sometimes hurts, but is necessary." 2 weeks later was the second hearing. This time Ryan sat on my side. His testimony was devastating. He told everything. How Vanessa manipulated him, how they planned to use the land, how they relegated me to the utility room, how they charged me rent. Vanessa looked at him with pure hate while he spoke. Her lawyer tried to discredit him, but the evidence was overwhelming. The emails between her and Bernard, the falsified documents, the testimonies of neighbors who had seen how they treated me. The judge listened to everything with an increasingly severe expression. When the statements ended, he took barely 5 minutes to deliberate. "I have seen many cases in my career, but this one is particularly painful," he began. A mother stripped by her own family, an elderly woman treated as a nuisance on her own property. Vanessa tried to interrupt, but her lawyer stopped her. "Therefore, I rule in favor of the plaintiff, Mrs. Stella Miller. Immediate return of the amount of $100,000 plus interest and damages is ordered. The mortgage loan is annulled as it was obtained through fraud. Ownership of the construction reverts to Mrs. Miller." Vanessa stood up screaming, "We do not have that money. It is impossible. Then the construction will be seized and auctioned. The proceeds of the sale will cover the debt. Furthermore, Mrs. Sanchez will face criminal charges for fraud." "And Mr. Miller?" Ryan tensed. "Mr. Miller has cooperated fully with justice and has shown genuine remorse. Therefore, he will not face criminal charges, but must pay a fine of $10,000 for his participation." The gavel fell. I had won. Outside the courthouse, Ryan hugged me. "Thank you for giving me a chance, Mom. Now you have to prove you deserve it." And he did. The following months were of slow reconstruction. Ryan moved to a small apartment. He fought for joint custody of Matthew and won. Every Sunday he came to visit me with my grandson. The house built on my land was auctioned. A young couple bought it for $350,000. After paying debts and legal costs, I had $150,000 left. With that money, I sold the entire land for $400,000. The total gave me $550,000. I bought a small but bright condo in a nice neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, a balcony with plants, a view of a park. My space. Only mine. I donated $50,000 to a foundation that helps elderly women victims of family abuse, because I was lucky to know Mr. Morris to have resources to fight. Many do not have them. The rest I invested wisely this time with a real financial advisor. One Sunday afternoon, Ryan came with Matthew. The boy, now 2 years old, ran to my arms shouting, "Grandma!" I melted. 6 months after the trial resolution, my life was completely different. I woke up one morning in May in my condo. The sun came through the white curtains I had chosen myself, and for the first time in years, I felt something I had forgotten: joy. The condo had become my sanctuary. Small, yes, but every corner was mine. The ivory walls I painted with Eleanor's help, the pots of geraniums on the balcony, the photo of George in the living room next to a new one of Matthew. Here, no one told me what time I could cook or when to wash my clothes. Ryan kept his word. Every Sunday he arrived with Matthew, and little by little we rebuilt something similar to a relationship. It was not the same as before. Probably it never would be, but it was honest. There were no longer masks nor convenient lies. "Mom, I brought your favorite dessert," he told me that Sunday, entering with a box of pastries from the bakery we used to visit when he was a child. Matthew ran straight to my arms. "Grandma, look at my dinosaur." I knelt to his height, forgetting for a moment my knees were no longer the same, and admired his toy with genuine interest. "It is beautiful, my love. What is his name?" "His name is George, like my grandpa who is in heaven." My eyes filled with tears. I looked at Ryan, who smiled with sadness. "I have been telling him about Dad," he explained, "about how he was, what he did, how he loved you. I want Matthew to know where he comes from." While Matthew played in the living room, Ryan and I sat on the balcony with coffee. "How are things with Vanessa?" I asked, not for curiosity, but because her situation affected my grandson. The divorce was finalized last week. She has partial custody but with supervision. The judge did not trust leaving her alone with Matthew after everything that came out in the trial. "And how is she?" Ryan sighed. "I do not really know. She moved with her parents. She is facing charges for fraud together with Bernard. Her lawyer says they will probably give her a suspended sentence for being a first-time mother, but she will have a criminal record." "Do you hate her?" My son stood thinking for a long while. "No, I think I pity her. She is a person who never learned to live without deceiving. But she is no longer my problem. My priority now is Matthew and rebuilding my life, and with me. How do you feel with me?" "Ashamed. Every day. Every time I see this condo and think it could have been bigger, more comfortable if we had not robbed you. Every time I see Matthew and think about how they forbade you to hold him." "Ryan." "No, let me finish. I was a terrible son. I chose a woman I had just met over the woman who gave me life. I allowed you to be treated like trash. And the worst is that part of me knew it was wrong, but it was easier to look the other way. And what did you learn from all this? That silence makes you an accomplice, that true love demands courage, and that you, Mom, are the strongest person I know." I took his hand. "I am not strong, son. I just got tired of being weak." That Sunday after they left, I stayed on the balcony watching the sunset. The city extended in front of me, millions of lives, millions of stories, and I was just one more. An older woman who almost lost everything, but found the strength to recover her dignity. My phone rang. It was Patty, my sister-in-law. "Stella, did you see the newspaper today?" "No, why?" "There is an article about Bernard and other corrupt notaries. They mention your case. They say thanks to your complaint, 5 other families were encouraged to sue too." I searched for the article online. There was my story without my full name, but recognizable. And at the end, the journalist wrote, "This woman proved it is never too late to defend what is yours. Her courage opened the way for other victims to find justice." I closed the phone and looked at George's photo. I did it, my love. It cost me, it hurt me, it almost destroyed me, but I did it. 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected call. It was from the foundation to which I had donated money. "Mrs. Miller, we would like you to come give a talk." There are many women going through situations similar to yours. Your story could help them. At first I hesitated. I did not consider myself an example of anything. But then I thought of all the Stellas there were in the world. Those who were in that utility room, swallowing humiliations, believing that love means enduring everything. I accepted. The talk was at a community center in the city. There were 40 women, mostly over 50, all with stories of family abuse, dispossession, manipulation. When I finished telling my story, many were crying. A lady of about 70 approached afterwards. I have been living with my daughter and my son-in-law for 10 years. They treat me like a servant, but I thought that is how it had to be, that I had no choice. There is always a choice, I told her, taking her hands. Maybe it is not easy, maybe it hurts, but your dignity is worth more than the comfort of staying silent. Those words became my new purpose. I gave 3 more talks that year. I helped 2 ladies contact lawyers. I started a small support group that met every month in my condo. A year after the trial, on my 69th birthday, Ryan arrived early with Matthew. "Happy birthday, Mom. I have something for you." He handed me a small box. Inside was a watch. Not just any watch. It was George's pocket watch, but now restored, shiny, working perfectly. "I know how much it means to you. I took it to repair. Now it works like new." I held it in my hands, listening to its constant tick-tock, and thought of all the road traveled. The losses, the battles, the small and big victories. "Thank you, son." "No, Mom. Thanks to you for not giving up, for teaching me that it is never too late to do the right thing." That night, alone again, but no longer lonely, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea. The city shone below, full of possibilities. I thought of the Stella of 2 years ago, the one who lived in a utility room, asking permission to exist. And I thought of the Stella of now, the one who had her own space, her own voice, her own life. 18 months after the trial, I received a certified letter. The envelope was thick, official, with the Superior Court of Justice logo. For a moment, the old fear returned. Had Vanessa appealed? Was there some new problem? I opened the envelope with trembling hands, but it was not what I feared. It was a notification that the case had been closed permanently. Vanessa had been sentenced to 2 years of suspended prison and 5 years of probation for fraud. Bernard had received 4 effective years. Everything had ended officially. I called Mr. Morris immediately. "You saw it right," he told me with a satisfied voice. "Complete justice, Stella. It does not always happen like that. Mr. Morris, I have no way to thank you for everything you did for me." "Stella, I only did my job. You did the difficult part. You had the courage to defend yourself when it would have been easier to stay silent." That afternoon, I decided to do something I had been postponing. I went to the cemetery where George rested. I had not visited his grave for months, busy with my new life, with rebuilding everything I had lost. I cleaned the tombstone carefully. I changed the withered flowers for fresh gladioli, his favorites. I sat on the grass without caring about dirtying my skirt. "It is all over, my love," I told him in a low voice. I recovered our dignity. I recovered the value of what we built together. And although it cost me almost losing our son, I think in the end, I also recovered him. The wind blew softly, moving the leaves of the trees. I wanted to believe it was George telling me he was proud. I wish you could see Matthew. He looks so much like Ryan when he was a child. He has that same loud laugh, that same curiosity for everything. And he calls me Grandma with so much affection that sometimes I forget all the bad that happened. I stayed there an hour more telling him everything. The Sundays with Ryan, the talks at the community center, the women I had helped my condo that smelled of coffee and fresh flowers every morning. When I got up to leave, I left something next to the flowers. It was a photocopy of the final sentence. I wanted George to know in some way that I had fought for what he had left me. The next Sunday, Ryan arrived with news. "Mom, I got a promotion, regional manager. It is much more money, but also more responsibility." "Congratulations, son. Your dad would be proud. There is something else. With the raise, I want to start paying you. Not everything. Probably I can never compensate the $100,000, but I want to try. Ryan, I do not need Yes, you need. And I need to do it. Please let me try to repair even a part of the damage. I accepted, not because I needed the money, but because I understood it was part of his healing process. Every month, Ryan deposited $1,000 to me. It was not much for him with his new salary, but for me it represented something more valuable than money. It represented responsibility, maturity, redemption. In October, I turned 70. Ryan organized a surprise party in my condo. It was not big. There were no luxuries. Eleanor was there, my sister Connie, who traveled to see me, Patty with her daughters, some new neighbors who had become friends, and the women of the support group I had formed. Matthew ran toward me shouting, "Surprise, Grandma!" I helped pick the cake. It was chocolate, my favorite. Simple, but perfect. During the party, while I saw all those people who really loved me, who celebrated with me not out of obligation, but out of genuine affection, I understood something. I had won much more than I had lost. Yes, I had lost money. I had lost years of relationship with my son. I had lost the illusion of the perfect family. But I had won self-respect. I had won authenticity. I had won the certainty that I could survive, that I was stronger than I believed. At the end of the night, when everyone left, Ryan stayed helping me clean. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Sure, son. Did you forgive me?" Really not just in words. I stopped leaving the plate I was washing. I looked him straight in the eyes. "Do you know what I learned from all this, Ryan? That forgiveness is not an event. It is a process. There are days when I see you with Matthew, and my heart fills with love, and I feel everything is behind. There are other days when I remember that utility room, and I still feel rage. I understand. But what I can tell you is that I chose to let go of resentment. Not for you, but for me, because carrying that weight was killing me. So yes, I have forgiven you. But forgiveness does not mean forgetting, it means remembering without pain." Ryan nodded with tears in his eyes. "That is all I can ask." That night after he left, I sat on my balcony like every night. But this time with George's watch in my hands, listening to its constant tick-tock. I thought of the Stella who answered that call almost 2 years ago, the one who heard we forgot to tell you and felt her world crumbling. That Stella was broken, lost, resigned. Now she was another, not better or worse, simply another. One who knew how to set limits. One who understood that self-love is not selfishness. One who had learned that sometimes you have to break everything to be able to rebuild better. The city shone in front of me with its millions of lights, its millions of stories, and I was just one more. But it was mine, completely mine. I closed my eyes and breathed deep. The fresh night air, the distant sound of traffic, the aroma of the gardenias on my balcony, all that was real, all that was mine, and for the first time in years, that was more than enough. 2.5 years after that call that changed my life, I found myself again sitting on my balcony, but this time with a notebook in my hands. One of the women from the support group had suggested I write my complete story. Mrs. Miller, what you lived needs to be told. There are thousands of women who need to know they are not alone, that you can get out of that. So I started writing not to publish a book or anything grand, just to leave a testimony, so that tomorrow when Matthew grew up, he could read these pages and understand why his grandmother did what she did. It was a sunny Saturday in March when I finished the last page. Just that day, Ryan arrived with unexpected news. Mom Vanessa is leaving the country. She got a job in Spain. She is taking Matthew. My heart skipped a beat. And the joint custody. The judge authorized the move. Vanessa met all the requirements of her probation. She has been going to therapy. She paid all the fines. The judge considered it is better for Matthew to have stability, even if that means living far away. And how do you feel? Destroyed, but also relieved. Vanessa needs to start from zero, far from all this, and maybe, just maybe, that will turn her into a better person. For Matthew. Did you forgive her too? Ryan stood thinking. I do not know if the word is forgive, but I understood she is also a victim of her own lies. She grew up believing that money and appearances were everything. She never had an example of real love. In a certain way, Mom, she is poorer than us, even if she has that job in Europe. A week later, we all went to the airport. Vanessa looked different, without excessive makeup, with simple clothes, hair tied in a simple ponytail. She almost seemed human. When she saw me, she hesitated. Then she approached with Matthew by the hand. "Mrs. Miller, She began, but the words got stuck. "Take good care of my grandson," I told her simply. "It is the only thing that matters now." She nodded with shining eyes. "I am going to do it, and I regret everything. I know it is not enough, but it is the truth." "Then wish you well, Vanessa." "Really?" I knelt in front of Matthew, who was now 3.5. "My love, you're going to go to a very pretty place with your mommy, but Grandma will always be here, okay? We are going to talk by video call. I am going to send you letters and drawings." And my dinosaur George asked with his little voice, "Your dinosaur George is going to take care of you from here, my heaven, and your grandpa from heaven, too." I hugged him with all my soul, trying to save that moment in my memory for the difficult days that would come. We watched them pass security. Matthew turned around 3 times to say goodbye with his little hand. Ryan cried in silence by my side. "My son is leaving Mom. He is going far away. But not forever. He will return on vacations, and when he grows up, he will decide where he wants to be." Back home, Ryan accompanied me to my condo. "Mom, I know things will never be like before, but do you think one day we can be a normal family without all this weight of the past? Son, normal families do not exist. They all have their problems, their secrets, their scars. What matters is if we are willing to heal together. And are you willing?" "I have been willing for 2.5 years, Ryan, waiting for you to finish processing everything, waiting for you to grow enough to understand what family really means." That night, alone again, I opened the notebook where I had written my story. I read the last line I had written, and then I understood that freedom has a price, but dignity has no price. I thought of all the road traveled. In that Stella who lived in a utility room asking permission to exist in the one who opened her laptop and sent that email that changed everything, in the one who faced her son in a court, in the one who rebuilt her life from 0 at 68. Each of those Stellas was me, and all together had created the woman I was now. My phone vibrated. It was a message from one of the women in the support group, Rosa, who had found the courage to sue her family last week. "Mrs. Miller, thank you for teaching me that it is never too late to recover my life. Today, I started living again." I smiled. Maybe that was the real victory. Not the money recovered, nor the house, nor even the relationship rebuilt with Ryan. It was knowing that my pain had served for something, that my story could illuminate the path of other women trapped in the same darkness. I got up and walked toward the window. The city extended in front of me, alive, pulsating, full of stories like mine. Stories of women who learn late but learn at last, who fall but get up, who lose but win the most important thing themselves. I took George's watch from the table. "We did it, my love. It was not how we thought, but we did it. Our son learned. Our grandson will know where he comes from." And I returned to be me. The watch marked 10 at night. A new day would start in 2 hours. A new day where I would choose how to live, what to do, whom to be with. A new day of freedom. Because in the end, that was what I had won. Not a perfect house, nor a perfect family. I had won the freedom to be imperfect, to make mistakes, to set limits, to say no, to say yes, to live without asking permission. And that I discovered was the true wealth. Not what you possess, but what you do not allow them to take from you. Not what you inherit, but what you build with your own hands. Not what others think of you, but what you think of yourself. I closed the window and turned off the lights. Tomorrow would be another day, one more of this new life I had fought so hard to get. And while I got into bed in my small but mine condo in my space that smelled of coffee and gardenias, I smiled. Because finally, after so many years, I had returned home. Not to a house of bricks and cement, but to myself,